Hello and welcome to the second part of the Linux series. My name is Maxi and I'll be talking about Linux distros and desktop environments. Before we start, I want to point out that if you haven't watched the first part of the Linux series, I totally recommend it. In that video, we explain what Linux is. Now, let's get started. So, first of all, we need to define what a Linux distro is. Distro is just short for distribution. It's an operating system that uses the Linux kernel. There are hundreds of distributions. The most famous ones are Debian, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Arch Linux. Some distributions are based on others, like Ubuntu, which is based on Debian, which means it bases off Debian repositories and they use the same package manager. Another important thing to keep note of are desktop environments. These are just a graphical way of using your Linux system. They offer some application by default, like notification systems and calculators, etc. And they offer a floating window manager. Some of the famous desktop environments are KDE, Plasma, XFCE, Mate, and others like GNOME. Now let's see what a window manager is, specifically tiling window managers. When you use a tiling window manager, you get mostly two advantages. You get workspaces, and all your windows are open using key bindings. This speeds up your work, as you don't need a mouse to resize, open, close, or move a window. All of it is done with the keyboard. So a common question is, what are the difference between a desktop environment and a window manager? And as I said before, desktop environments come with some pre-installed software, like terminal emulators, text editors, and a floating window manager. When you install a window manager, you just get the window manager, and that's all. You don't have a notification system like you have in desktop environments. So I would say if you're a starter, I'd recommend starting out with desktop environments, and when you get used to Linux, you switch to a tiling window manager. So, just like I said, there are many Linux distros, but what are the difference between them? Many distributions come with a modified version of the desktop environment. An example is Ubuntu Mate and Linux Mint Mate Edition. They both use the Mate desktop environment, but they also look very different. Updates are also different on each distribution. Some distributions are more stable than others. Others get updates more frequently, etc. So, now that you know what a Linux distro is, go on and search up for the one that you like. You can test a Linux distribution using a virtual machine, or booting to it using a USB, without affecting your existing OS. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe and like the video if it was helpful.